to everybody keep in mind that please do not make up your mind up yet until you see everything. There may be people that are for it and think, I might need to go against it. There may be people be against it and say, that's not a bad idea. Keep in mind, just keep an open mind. And I would like to start that presentation with some of the things of probably the reason you guys showed up tonight. This was the first flyer that went out. Many of you know a little bit about this flyer. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the flyer. It was not monogrammed, it wasn't signed. It said, let your voice be heard and tell your local officials, contact City Hall. And they put a phone number up there on the right-hand side. Instead of putting City Hall's number, they put my home number, which is just a fact. Yes, it was, but that's not City Hall's number. Thank you, and that's the first time. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that because the second one that came out was this one, and I've got them all. I just want to make sure. Yes, and you did. And the third one, you guys put your name on it, and I appreciate that because I do appreciate you putting your name on it. I want to make sure that everybody saw this because we're going to go through some of those facts and information out there. And the last one that went through, I think, you got yesterday, day before, was this one. Everybody got that? We're going to go through some of the numbers because we want to make sure that everybody understands the numbers. If it's not what it seems, it may not be as bad or as good as it seems either from any other side. So, moving on, I want to go into My Trash, My Voice. Some people put their information on that, sent that in, cards delivered. I would like to make mention on this particular item, and we just pulled this information as of this morning at 10:38, so we're 240 on mytrashvoice.com, and we've received 516 cards delivered to City Hall, and that's the card that you saw on the first handout and the first flyer that went out. I would like to say, too, that on those flyers, we did have people send those back in with yes on them instead of no, and we only got one yes at City Hall. So we're not quite sure what happened there, but we would like to get all. That's not ours, but if we're going to get them back, we want to get them all back. But I want to point this out. We have 5,197 current residential accounts in the City Republic. We had 516 cards come back, and we had 246 people put their name on mytrashmyvoice.com. I would like to say on our citizen survey, we're going to get to some of this information in a minute. In 2006, we sent out 4,350 surveys on our citizen survey. We did do it about every 2 years. In 2006, we sent out 4,350 surveys to citizens, and that was just a citizen survey. They sent it back in, and they sent 1,305 back into us, which is a 30% return. In 2010, we're going to get to some of these surveys in a minute. In 2010, we sent out 2,900 citizen surveys and received back 850, which is right around 29.3% for those who are around, 29.3% return. So with that, you see that we're getting about an average of 30% return on our citizen survey, and we have put this question on citizen survey twice. We're going to get into that, but I just wanted to point out that we get a better return on our citizen survey than we do registered voters, because we have about, 8,000 registered voters? 8,200 registered voters, and the turnout roughly runs between 1,500 and 2,000, which is not quite 20%. 15.5% is what voter turnout is in the City Republic on average for a major election. So, many of you are wondering where we are in the process, currently. I would like to say the first things first. No vote has been taken on whether council is looking for the direction of trash to go to one trash service. No vote has been taken as far as going, yes, we're going to do this, or no, we're not. A lot of you may be misinformed about how we work. We're going to go through the process. We'll make sure you're as educated as council. Secondly, the vote from council will be either August 27th or September 10th, and that will be when council gets to vote, and they can give their opinions at that time. Right now, tonight, is to educate everybody, not only you, but the council members, and at the same time, let your voice be heard to the council as well. And town hall meeting. And that's to educate everybody, not just you, but the council as well, because this will be the first time that they officially see this information, and that's why we wanted to present it to everybody. So, many of you are wondering how this works. Well, we are following a process in accordance with the Missouri state law, which is Missouri 260.247, which allows municipalities to consider it. It also allows a time frame in which to be considered. In other words, the municipality just can't walk up and say, we're going to get trash. We're going to go to one trash service, or we're going to do a preferred vendor. That's not how it works. The state of Missouri does not allow that, which is a good thing, because it makes us at least go through the process and wait a minimum of 2 years, and no later than 3 years, before commencing the service. That's a good thing. That's here to protect you, it's here to protect us, and it's here to protect the trash haulers as well. It gives them 2 years before the notice, before it's even decided on or looked at. So this is the information that you need to know, the information the haulers need to know, because they know it, and the information the council needs to know as far as the process. So how does the process work? There's steps involved. I want to make sure everybody understands the steps involved and where we are in the process. Step 1, the idea is presented to council. Vote is taken to move forward or not to move forward. That vote was taken. I'm going to go through where we are right now in the current and where we were in the past, but these are just the steps. Step 2, 2-year notice is given to all trash haulers in the area that council is considering to go into one service. That's in accordance with that section in the Missouri state statute. Step 3, after approximately 1 to 1.5 years, focus group convened to review the one trash concept. Notice the asterisk. Step 4, council votes on whether to send an RFP, which is a request for a proposal. I'm going to go into that. Jim's going to go into that a little bit later. To trash haulers in the area. Step 5, the request for proposal is sent to the haulers with the date to be returned. Step 6, town hall meeting to present all the information from RFPs. That's what we're here for today. And lastly, step 7, city council votes that up or down to move forward with one trash hauler. That's the meeting on either August 27th or September 10th. So with that, that's the process that we work. I would like to mention, though, please note that steps 3 and 6, which were, my notes, step 3, approximately 1.5 years of focus group convened. That is not required by law. That's not required by law at all. That's one thing we want to do here, put a focus group of citizens together. And step 6, town hall meeting. That's not required at all either, but that's what we want to make sure everybody's educated on. So that's the process that we follow. Basically a 7-step process, but we've thrown in to make sure that you are aware and we are aware that we do a focus group and we do a town hall meeting such as this. Now, that's how a process works, and that's the process that we have to follow. That's the process that this city council has to follow. That's the process that Ozark, Nixa, Springfield, and you're going to hear about some of them later. That's the process they have to follow as well. They don't have to do focus groups or public forums or town hall meetings, but that is the process, stepwise, that they're going to have to go through. It's a 2-year process. So, here's some statements that have been made. This is a done deal, and you're pushing this through council. Well, no, we can't push that through council. It's an idea that we floated out there. I'm going to get into the reasons for that later. This is not a done deal. It's never been a done deal. If you know any of these council members up here, I will tell you this. They have their own opinions. Trust me. But I'm hoping that they and you will keep an open mind as we go through this, because there may be an opinion or two that you see tonight that may not fit or may didn't think of. All the council's on board with this, so there's no reason to discuss it. Well, I will say this about this council. And I got 4 new council members in here, about 3 or 4 of them. This council, as well as the others, are very good at looking at information without making a decision. They are very objective. They will have their opinion, and they do. And I applaud them for having their opinion. However, they're on board with this to look at it, and that's what we should be doing. They're on board to look at it, and that's the right thing to do, and we're going to get into why it's right in a minute. But that's the right thing to do. Whether they voted up or down is their decision. But you have a very good council. You've had very good councils in the past. And that's exactly why this statement, in my opinion, really, in my opinion, is not necessarily accurate. This council is very objective, and they will look at it. Matter of fact, some of the opinions that we have that we went to this route are based from council members. They want to look at whether they're for it or against it. They wanted to look at it. Lastly, or not lastly, but it says this was point made to me. You shut us down at the council meeting. Why didn't you allow us to talk? Well, one reason and one reason only: Sunshine Law. It was not on the agenda. It was not going to be discussed. It was, you know, the process that we looked at. That's the process that we follow in this city. Every city follows the Sunshine Law, including us. And that's one law that we do not break, the Sunshine Law. And that means the Sunshine Law is there to protect you, and it's there to protect council. The Sunshine Law means that you don't discuss anything not on the agenda. Trash was not on the agenda that night. And as we've seen, I showed them earlier, I wished, and I'm going to use you, since you guys have said automated in hometown, I wish you would have called me because I would have told you what the agenda was and what the process was. But that didn't happen. But we were where we were. You showed up. The Sunshine Law said, we can't discuss it. We discussed it as much as we could. But that Sunshine Law is there to protect you and to protect me, because what you don't want is this council discussing something not on the agenda when you don't know about it. That's why we post the agendas with so many hours. That's why we post them online. That's why we post them in City Hall. That's why we post these agendas. So everybody has a chance. That Sunshine Law is to protect you and protect me. If you will go into my office at City Hall, you will find 2 Sunshine Law books sitting on my desk, because that is what we follow. And if the attorney was here, I'm sure he would probably just give a nod, because he's usually the one that either makes sure that we're following. If we don't get something out, correct it and we have to go back. The city is going to get rich off one trash service. Well, we can go through the math, and we're going to go through the math. Trust me, we're going to go through the math, because I like math. But we're going to go through that, because some of the information out there is not true based on the numbers that you're going to see. And lastly, some of the information that you have been presented in the mail skews it one way or skews it another. I understand that, but we're going to go through that too. And lastly, why are you doing this? Well, that's a good question, because many of your questions are designed for why are you doing it. One reason, and pretty much one reason, and there's lots of reasons, and we're going to get into some of those. You require us, as council, to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. Laugh if you will, but I will say this. You require us to be good stewards of taxpayers' money. Do you realize that when you pay your sales tax, when you go down to the store, that some of that's going to go to the road, some of it's going to go to parks, some of it's going to go to general fund, some of it's going to... This is the only city in the area, or one of the only cities in the area, that has not laid off people, has been in the black, has been positive budgets over the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's not higher taxes. We haven't raised taxes in it since. We have not raised a tax since I've been here, and I've been here since 2005. 2005. No, that's true. That is true. I've been 2005. I've been here. That's not a tax. Water and sewer is not a tax. That's a service, utility. Now, if you will look on your gas bill, look on your gas bill when you get home. Okay? Huh? My franchise fee, look at the administration fee. You tell me what that is. $26, almost $27. Thank you. You're exactly right. Thank you. But you want us to be good stewards of taxpayers' dollars. Our streets are part of the infrastructure here. So are our water sewer lines. So is everything else that we deal with. Whether it's a city building such as this, whether it's a city hall, which we haven't done anything in City Hall since 1920s. But the issue is, you want us to be good stewards of taxpayers' money, then we have to look at every item that will help out the city, regardless of what it is, whether it's a tough situation or a tough discussion like this, or whether it's an easy discussion. I will say this. I would love to have this crowd at City Hall when we discuss $750,000 in fire trucks. $750,000 in fire trucks, and we discussed it for 3 minutes. But yet we spend 45 minutes discussing a $1,200 sign. Okay? So let's just cut to the chase. You want us to be good stewards of taxpayers' money, then you require us to look at everything, and everything includes trash. Everything includes our water and sewer, includes our cable, everything includes our streets, everything includes our fire protection equipment, which our fire chief would probably tell you, he doesn't have enough. Our fire chief would tell you, or police chief, I don't have enough. Well, guess what? That all has to be budgeted out. I will guarantee this. This council and that staff are probably some of the best in Southwest Missouri. And if you haven't been down to City Hall, I suggest you make an appointment to go down to City Hall, because I think you will learn a valuable lesson about the way this city is run, and it's been run like this for a long time. And that man right there, Jim Christian, he's a city administrator. He needs to be credited with a good job that he does, and he does do a good job comparative to what we have going on. So you want to vote? Here it is. You want to know your role? I'm going to tell you what the roles are. You have a right to voice your opinion. Yes, you do. And that's why we're here. But we want you to voice your opinion after you see the information. Many of you came in here upset that this is not the right thing to do. I will tell you this. I've had 2 people call me in the last 2 days that were dead set against this, and still are. And 2 of them, both of them are here tonight, are dead set against this. But they know this is the right thing to do, it's the right thing to look at, and it's the right discussion to have. We have to have this discussion. Secondly, you can voice your opinion all you want. What I don't want is a personal attack on anybody, because we will shut you down, because that's not what this is about. This is not about a personal attack on this council. It's not a personal attack on me. And when I will say this, you will find out what my role is here in a minute, and I think you'll be a little bit surprised. Secondly, council. Again, you've asked them, you've elected them. No matter if you have a problem with the national government, the state government, the county government, whatever it is, you required these people to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That's what you require them. And they are here to make sure that we have infrastructure as funding for now and in the future, whether it's water and sewer, whether it's roads, or whatever it may be. That's what you've required of them. If they didn't look at it, I would be upset. And lastly, you want to know my role is? Well, my role is to make sure that we are good stewards of taxpayers' money. We'll see every avenue to make sure that they are good stewards of the taxpayers' money. I do not vote unless there's a tie. Many of you think that I'm pro this. Many of you think that I'm anti this. I don't know. I'm as neutral as you can get. Because first of all, I don't vote, and you're not going to know my opinion unless I do vote. And I got a mayor pro tem in the back who used to say, tell me what your opinion is, and I said no. And then he finally said, I don't want your opinion, I can do it on my own. And he did it on his own. This council does not know my opinion. My wife, who's standing in the back, does not know my opinion on this subject. Unless I vote, you will know my opinion. I'm as neutral as they come. But at the same time, I'm also a purveyor of somebody who wants to say, it's got to be fair. You may present, it may seem like I'm presenting the other side of it. No, I'm presenting the other side of it so you can have both sides of the issue. That you can be fair and you can be honest in your opinion. I'm going to be fair. It may seem like I'm promoting one way or I'm being negative on the other. You have to remember, this is about fairness. That's what I'm about. You have to be fair with this. You will not know my opinion. Nobody knows my opinion. If it comes down to a vote, then you'll get a 30-minute dissertation and you'll get my opinion. But other than that, if it comes to the council, they're the ones that have to vote. But it is the responsibility of everyone here to listen to all sides, be fair, and respectful of everyone involved. Everybody thinks this is a right issue. Everybody thinks this is a tax issue or it's a dollar issue. It's not a tax. It's a dollar issue, and it's a freedom issue. That's what it boils down to. I'm going to go through the pros and cons. That's what it boils down to. But please be respectful. Please be fair. And if I point out something on the other side, that does not mean I'm for it. That means that I'm just trying to point out the other side of it. Now, citizen survey. Let's talk about that a minute. There are some council members, former council members here that were on the council at this time, so they will remember this. In 2006, I mentioned it, we sent out 4,350 surveys on a citizen survey. That only went to people inside the City Republic. What that particular survey said, City Republic currently issues permits to companies who wish to provide trash service for the city at a cost-saving measure, and you can read it. It seeks bids and selects one company to provide trash service to all residents and businesses. Trash collection rates could decrease by as much as 20%. Do you favor or oppose this idea? That was sent to the citizens in a survey. 4,350 went out, 1,305 came back. Here's the numbers on those. And these are raw numbers. These are available on the, at City Hall if you want to go down and get a copy of them. They're all available. Citizen survey was, yes, we would like to see that. 26% said no, and 17% were undecided. Those are out of the 1,305, I think, that came back. So those in itself, that's our first citizen survey. There's some history here. So let's look at the history of where we've been on this subject. Previous history of the issue. At the council meeting on August 28, 2006, discussion took place at a regular council meeting, and that was the Board of Aldermen. And I would like to make mention, too, the Board of Aldermen at that time was 10 members. We had just consolidated with the City of Brookline. We had 2 members from the City of Brookline on the Board of Aldermen until 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So we had 10 members. Just to keep that up, we have 8 now. Now, that meeting was to provide for one trash service. The agenda item that was on at that time was discussion and possible vote to approve correspondence, step number 1, notifying local solid waste companies of the city's intent to enter into that business in 2 years. That was what was on the council meeting. That was what was, I was on council at that time. I was not mayor, but I was on council. At that council meeting on September 11, 2006, after discussion, the motion failed by a vote of 3 in favor and 6 opposed. It did not get past step 1. Again, the council looked at it. I will say this. At that time, it was a hot topic. Even then, there was a lot of discussion. And I've got some nods from the people that were on council at that time. So it'd been on council once before. Now, again, in 2010, we went out again for a similar survey, annual citizen survey. This one said, Republic Trash Service, Republic currently offered by a variety of companies at a cost-saving measure. How strongly do you support or oppose this idea? Notice the wording between this one and the last one. It did not have a percentage in there. It did not have any numbers in there. And the vote on the citizen survey on this one, we sent out, let me go back, it was 2,900, and you got 850 back for 30% return again, 29.3. In this particular case, it was 42, 41, 13, and 4. Now, I would like to point out something between those two. One of them had 20% on there. The other one didn't have any percentages or information like that. That tells me one thing, that a lot of people vote with their pocketbook, and a lot of people vote, there's a lot of people vote with their morals, they vote with their pocketbook. In this case, they voted with their pocketbook. But when given a percentage, the percentage was higher. When not given percentage, the percentage was about even. So it came down to that particular opinion. Now, where we are now. Current timeline of events, October 26, 2009, resolution number 09-R-65, passed the City Council at that time, declaring the city's intent to pursue citywide trash service. Now, I would like to make mention, again, this council is the one that passed it to look at it. Please keep an open mind. Just because they pass something to look at it does not necessarily mean that they want to go that way, but they do want to look at it. Because, again, they're trying to represent you and be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. That's what they're here for, regardless of whether the federal government does or the state government. In this particular case, they decided to look at it. They wanted to look at it. November 9th, trash companies with current business licenses from the city notified via certified letters to the intent. That's step 2 in the process. Remember, we follow the steps, step 1, step 2. And we get into fall of 2009. We decided an informal study of business owners regarding interest in citywide service was conducted. Again, in fall, and a year later, we did a citizen survey, as I mentioned earlier. We sent that out. September 2011, independent trash surveys were conducted on all companies doing business in the Republic. None of that's required by law, by the way. None of that's in the steps. Those are all something this council wanted to do to make sure they had a good overview of really what was going on in the community. So those are not required by law. Where we are now, current timeline, February 2012, focus group established to evaluate and review parameters for that future RFP. And discussions include territories, recycling program start date, homeowners association contracts, citywide cleanup day, et cetera. Those were all discussed by the focus group on whether to include those in the RFP. Requests for proposals are kind of a different animal. You want to make sure you include everything in there, but you also want to make sure you include safeguards for both the company that you're sending it to and yourself. And that's just good business. April 9, 2012, Council authorized staff to distribute the request for proposal for citywide trash service. That passed. Again, it was to look at it again. It was to look at it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we're doing. That's why we're having a process. It's a vote. It was a vote to go look at it. When it comes back, we're at town hall meeting. Present the results of that request for proposal. We're going to present those. The other thing, too, is that what I'm asking you to do is keep an open mind, number one. Number two, this council's done a good job. They're going to be up here in a minute listening to what you have to say. Please be fair about it. Do not attack them. State your opinion. And if you have questions that we haven't covered, please ask those. The reason we went back out for it again to look at it is, again, it is being good stewards. We are a town of 14,751. I would like to add, if you add up all the 2010 census for every other town in Greene County except Springfield, add them all together, Republic's just slightly bigger. So when you require us to be good stewards of taxpayers' money, we are. We try to be as best we can. There's lots of cities around there laying off people. We haven't. There's lots of cities that are in the red. We're not. That's really due to the council of the city in front of you and the staff that you have around you. This city has changed. Jim Krischke came on board late 2007. A lot of these council members have been on here. Ms. Poole's been on here a long time. Mr. Wilson's been on here a long time. There were some of our newer members, Jeff Shane and Marty, have been on here. This is a good council. So please do not take shots at the council. Please do not take shots at me. I'm neutral. I will present the other side to you. And it may not be the answer that you like, but I'm going to give you an answer. And a lot of people that have called me up and have talked to me over the last, long time, I get a lot of phone calls, will know. Sometimes we'll agree to disagree, but I will present the other side. And we'll make sure that everybody has a fair shake, that you see the other side as well. And that goes for both sides. If it's being presented as pro this, pro that, then I'll present the other side. Now, where we are now is we're at a town hall meeting, and we're getting ready to go through the actual bid proposals from the trash companies, the trash haulers themselves. I'm going to allow Mr. Krischke to go through the bids themselves, and he's going to go through all that and look at the dollars and cents, because that's what it's all about. The RFP is going to give you a quick overview of the request for proposal. Please be respectful of your neighbors, okay? Whether you disagree with me or not, it's irrelevant. Please be respectful of your neighbors. That's all I ask. And Mr. Krischke is going to give you a quick overview of the RFP, some of the things that we're requesting from our trash haulers. And secondly, he's going to go through the actual numbers that came back from the trash haulers. Now, Council's seeing these for the first time, basically in an official format and with the official staff information attached to them. Please keep that in mind, that this is not only for your benefit, but for them as well, because when they get down to making a decision, they're going to listen to what you have to say, and they're going to listen to what's up here. They're not making a decision right, again, it's going to be either August 27th or September 10th, and we'll let you know how we're going there. So, Mr. Krischke, give us an overview of the RFP, and then you can have just go through the numbers and kind of go from there, and I'm going to sit on the rest for a few minutes, take a drink of water.
Okay. Hopefully that's on. Some of the questions that came up earlier at the council meeting that the mayor referred to questioned what was in the RFP, and let me just go through exactly what is in the RFP so that everyone understands exactly what was requested of the vendors that are in our area, so that everyone has a great understanding of what it is that we were looking for. And again, it goes back to the focus group that the mayor had mentioned. That focus group not only was looking at the benefits and what negatives could be with a citywide trash service, but one of their important tasks was to put together the parameters that would go into the RFP. And every time you put an RFP together, you want to make absolutely certain that you're doing it in the best interest of the city, and you're trying to collectively get, in this particular case, a service that would be fitting for everyone in this city. And I can tell you that the focus group and those that are here today put a lot of time and thought and effort into making sure that we came up with something that would work for the City of Republic. So with that said, we go through the normal process. Everything, as the mayor had mentioned, is above board. Everything is kept confidential. We have a bid opening date. We went out. April 9th was the date the council approved issuing an RFP. We actually issued that on April 16th, and we asked for all of the trash providers to provide their bids back to the city on Friday, June 8th. Now, that was the original date that we had decided upon. There was a situation that arose with some of the costs, tipping costs, the landfill costs, that was a concern to some of the trash haulers. They asked for an extension to make sure that they understood exactly what their costs would be. So we actually extended the date for the bids to be returned to the city to Friday, June 28th, or June 22nd, pardon me. So they had 2 months to get their information together. We wanted to make sure that they had plenty of time, ample time to do all of their research and make sure that they put something together that they were comfortable with. So again, all of the instructions, all of the details, it's pretty much normal. Every city follows the same types of procedures and policies when it comes to that. We gave all of the information, the factual information, to each of the companies. That included the number of miles of streets that we have. It included the number of single-family residential units we have in the city, the number of duplex units, triplex. We outlined even the number of residents that would be in the Brookline area. We gave our most recent U.S. Census number of 14,751. We provided them with the estimate of 5,200 residential customers for consideration. So all of the information, factual information, was provided so that they had everything that they needed. Again, this was only for residential customers, not for commercial. Early on, there was a survey done of business owners. That was to find out their interest in participating in a program like this. Very quickly found out that the business needs are so unique and diverse that there was no way that they can be included in any sort of a proposal. There was no way we can meet all of their needs. They were eliminated from that. Now, some of the actual requests that the city had made, certainly it was weekly trash pickup. It would be originally we had a 65-gallon cart figured. We changed that to a 95-gallon cart after we talked to some of the trash companies at a pre-bid meeting that we held, inviting the trash companies to come in, ask their questions, make sure that they understood exactly what the city was looking for, and they were able to provide their input to us at the city to make sure we had this as fine-tuned as we could get this. And one of the suggestions, and a very valid one, was they would prefer to provide each resident with a 95-gallon container versus a 65-gallon container. So we made that change, and that was one of the items that they asked for. So trash service was one. That was a mandatory, obvious bid that we would want to receive back. Curbside recycling was also discussed. 2 options were given to the vendors. One would be for a mandatory curbside recycling program where everyone that received trash service would also receive recycling service. They would be provided with a separate bin for trash and a separate bin for recycling. That was option number 1. Option number 2 was an optional program. If everyone has a trash service, it would be each individual in this room, each individual in the city, it would be their option to decide for themselves whether or not they wanted to participate in the recycle program. For those that would, there was a separate fee that was requested. They would be provided with a cart and they would receive that service. Billing service. The City of Republic currently provides out the water and sewer bills. We are capable and able to provide a bill for the trash services as well. So that was included in there, that the city would provide that service. We would bill that along with water and sewer bills, so the residents would get one bill. The city, as part of the RFP, asked each vendor to voluntarily decide what percentage of the bill where they would rebate, refund, however you want to call it, back to the city to cover the administrative expenses. We did not ask for a dollar amount. We did not make a suggestion for any dollar amount. We just simply said what would be a fair price, what would be a fair cost that would keep the vendor from having to do that service and put it onto the city. So, and we'll get into the numbers on that as well. A couple of the other benefits, I guess, or amenities that we asked for, from a city's perspective, we asked for a general cleanup day, I guess I'll call it. It's twice a year. It would be in April and again in October, where everybody in the city would be provided with the opportunity to put out their large ticket items. They wouldn't be able to put out anything, of course, that's hazardous or would cause issues, no tires, no paints, that sort of thing. But if you had an old sofa, you had some other large items that you wanted to get rid of after you cleaned out your garage, 2 times a year, that would be included in your cost for your service. You would get 2 times a year, you would get that pickup. Also included was the option for residents to have a monthly pickup of a large item. So if you didn't want to wait till April or October, you would be able to get a pickup at an additional cost. It would be an additional cost to the residents, but once a month, you would be able to get rid of your large items. We wanted to make sure that everybody would have that option as well. Some of the other things that were included, service to the city. Right now, the city pays just like everyone else does. They pay for the city's trash, whether it's here at our community center, whether it's downtown at our village or city hall. We pay for our trash service just like anybody else. It's the city's trash. It's all of your trash. It's something that the city has to pay for out of tax dollars, so it's sometimes a common practice to ask for that service to be included in with the rest of the service. So that was a part of the program as well, is they asked for that to be included in the service. Special events. We have, as everyone knows, Pumpkin Days is probably our biggest event each year. Have a Blast, which we just had, is another big event. Of course, there's a lot of trash that comes with both of those events. We ask for the trash companies to provide service to those events at no charge to the city. So we've included that in there as well. One of the big things that we did include in here, and one of the things that we heard loud and clear from the focus group, we call it an opt-out or a shared service program. Many people, especially those that live in the duplexes or even the triplexes, they share a service with their neighbors. And having each person be required to have their own service, may be somewhat of an overkill. So what we allowed this to do, and we were very clear and specific in how we wrote this up, but people that live next door to each other would have that option to be able to have a shared service. You would only get one container for those two buildings or 2 occupancies, but you would be able to share service and share cost with your neighbor. And that also would extend to family members, because we did hear from quite a few people that said, my grandmother lives over on such and such a street, 3 blocks away. We take care of her trash for her and bring it to our house. Or my daughter or my son lives over there. We take care of it. They don't have to have a trash service. They can't afford it. So we wrote a provision in there that family members, as long as they provide documentation, family members could share a service, trying to be as citizen-friendly, respectful to what everybody in the city is currently doing. And then lastly, we also made sure that we had a pickup service. So if anybody is disabled or there's elderly and are unable to be able to bring their trash to the curb, which would be required, the trash companies would provide a service where they would come and go up to your doorstep, go up to your garage, and get your trash for you and bring it down. And then that way it's convenient and easy so people aren't inconvenienced. if they're unable or incapable of taking their trash to the street. Those were the things that were included in the request for proposals. There's a few other little odds and ends that were in there, but those are the main points and main factors that we included in there. That's what was sent to every waste company, and we got back 5 different surveys back, and these are in alphabetical order, so they're not in any preferred order. It is what it is, and what I'm going to show you on the screen is the exact bid form that we got. And I want to caution everybody that there's all this other information about whether or not they would participate in an opt-out or shared service program. They answered all of those questions later on, and those are major considerations if the city were to decide to go in this direction. But these are just the raw numbers of what it would be. All right, this first slide, and again, this is alphabetical order, Allied Waste, and I'm sure if you're like me, I don't really know all of the names. I just know there's the blue container company, there's the brown container company, there's the orange container company. So sometimes to me, I'm not always certain who is who. But anyways, this is Allied Waste, who is obviously a provider here in the city. We asked for a 5-year bid. And this would be competitively bid every 5 years. I didn't want to miss that point, and I almost did. But every 5 years, the city would be able to go back out and rebid the service. All right, so these are a 5-year bid. We gave them estimated number of customers that they could expect to service here in the city. We increased that by 200 and then by 400 as the city grows and the economy improves. Those are the estimates of the number of customers that we would anticipate them serving. As you can see, garbage alone, mandatory garbage, curbside pickup with the 95-gallon cart. I don't have to go through all the numbers. You can see them for yourself. But first year price is $8.61, and then at the end of 5 years, it's $9.50. The middle column there is the optional recyclable service that if the resident wants to make that their own choice, the city doesn't provide a mandatory service. This is their own choice. You can see it would be $7.04 to $7.77 for year 5. And then that next to last column, that would be what your combined rate would be. If there was a mandatory trash service and mandatory recycle service weekly on both, you can see what that number would be, $10.74 to an amount of $11.85. The percentage on the far right of that screen, that is the percentage that Allied determined was a fair amount to reimburse the city for the administrative expense. So those are the numbers that were submitted by Allied. Yes, I'm sorry if it's not loud enough. Thank you. All right. Next, automated waste. Again, we're going in alphabetical order. Same thing with the number of customers. Their quotes came back $10.48. They kept their rates the same for 2 years, and then they gradually increased them to year 5, which would be $11.39. You can see, you don't need me to read the numbers for the optional recycling service. And then on the combined, again, $13.40 would be the same for the first 2 years, and in year 5, they were at $14.57. Again, they voluntarily put in that percentage of 8% going back to the city. Next would be hometown disposal. We got 5 in total. Hometown disposal, they provided a first-year bid of $12.45, and again, it gradually increased to $13.74. They did not offer the optional. It's not to say that we couldn't, talk to them, but in this particular bid, they did not offer that. They did offer the combined service for both recycle and trash pickup at the curbside, $16.78 to $18.49, and their administrative fee refund is 2%. And then Ozark Mountain Sanitation, They also put a bid in, and I'll need to explain this just a little bit, but their bid for individual trash-only service, $10.78, where that was frozen for 3 years, and then as you can see, it gradually escalated to years 4 and 5 for $11.41. That center amount would be a recycle-only charge, and I do believe that there was a little bit of confusion, probably in both parts, about how that was supposed to work, but that would be a number that was submitted. The more important number is the number on the back end there, where it's a combined garbage and recycle service at the curbside. If you're looking at it like I did, you're probably thinking there's a mistake there, but that is the price that they proposed, $10.78, again frozen for 3 years, $11.41 for the 4th and 5th year. The reason behind this particular bid, I just want to make sure everyone knows that we checked these numbers. They felt that when recycle is offered to the citizens, that the amount of trash decreases enough to offset the cost of picking up the recycling. That is their business plan, that's their logic, that's how they bid the proposal, that's what's presented. And again, the far right-hand column is 5% administrative refund to the city. And last of our 5 bids, again, alphabetical order, is Waste Corporation of Missouri. They gave us numbers starting first year of $10.44, gradually increasing to $11.53. The center number, again, you can read for yourselves. The mandatory recycle and trash program is $13.22, and they gradually get to $14.60. They had an administrative fee to the city of 10%. Now, I will tell you, all of the trash service providers, they all had their own little twist on how they would want to do this. Waste Corporation, since they're on the screen, they also provided an alternate bid for a 65-gallon cart with a different number. Allied was another one that offered a different service for every other week recycle service. So there are slight variations to what's been proposed, but these were the basic numbers that came in on the form that we requested. And some of the events or some of the factors and benefits that we had asked for as a city, you can see the chart here. I don't have to go through it all, but for the most part, everyone agreed to all of those other conditions. So as part of your monthly fee, you would get your 2 times a year trash pickup, general trash pickup. That would be included anything large or anything that you just wanted to get rid of. It would also include the city's trash pickup. It would include pickup at the city events, which would save the city some tax dollars as well. But even though you'll see a few no's on there, don't read too much into that, because everyone pretty much was in uniform agreement to all of those conditions. Here again, it's a lot of reading, and I don't want to go through it. I've touched on most of these. Here's some of the other things that they've asked for, like Allied Waste. Instead of charging the citizens for a large ticket item every month that we asked for, they voluntarily added that to their service. So that's one of the things they added. Automated waste, they put in a proposal, an alternate for a bag service. That would be in place of a roll-out cart for those that would be disabled or elderly, and they would be able to pick that up. The bags would be at no cost. There still would be a service charge, of course, but those are some of the improvements or suggestions that were made. Hometown disposal. Again, a lot of people use hometown disposal. They included a large item in their base pricing for the month, and they had a couple of other questions in there that would have to be discussed and worked out. Ozark Mountain, again, I think I explained the biggest thing with their proposal, which was the same for trash and recycling. They also offered carry-out services and sponsored events, city sponsors events being picked up. And then certainly, last but not least, is Waste Corporation. they have provided the alternate proposal for 65 gallons, and then, they have, if you want a second cart, how much would that be per month in case you got a family with a lot of trash? And there are some out there, and with small kids especially, where you can easily fill up a 95-gallon container in no time. You would be able to get a second trash container at a cost of $7.50 per month. So there was a few things in there. They also gave some other options on how the administrative fee can be treated. Okay, here, if anyone is interested in knowing what your neighbors are paying in trash service, hopefully you can see this in the back, but this is a breakdown of what some of our neighbors are paying currently. You can see Battlefields, who just recently went to a preferred program where they have vendors that they have negotiated a preferred rate for their residents, and they have the option, of course, of using one of those preferred vendors or choosing their own vendor and doing whatever it is that they'd like to do. But their rates, as you can see, would be just slightly less than $14 per month. Billings, they have just a trash-only type program. They have a rate of just slightly above $10. Hollister is right there in the middle, somewhere at about $11. Nixa, they have trash at just slightly below $10. I think it's around $9.70 or $9.78, somewhere in that range. And their recycle cost, if you added that to your service, would be slightly above $14. Ozark, again, is right in the middle. Ozark is another community that does a preferred program. They have, I believe, one vendor on their preferred program, and you have the option as a resident. You can go with that one preferred program. The pricing would be just as you'll see on the screen, or you can go with your choice and choose who you would like. They are in the process of also looking to convert to a single provider service. So that's how they're working it. Stratford, again, I won't go through the numbers. You can see where they all are. And then Willard, of course, is right there in the mix as well. All right, and now I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor, and he can go through some of the pros and cons.
I'll go through some of the pros and cons. Before we get there, I want to go back and you guys have asked a lot of questions. I appreciate that. I'm going to go through the questions. Some of these may be answered already, but we're going to try to get through them all. Just bear with me, if you will. And then we're going to go through just a few other things and open it up, if you would. Let's see. I'm not going to read your name or your address, but I will read the question. If 2 or 3 singles share one pickup, trash pickup, do all 3 get charged? In other words, are we charging per household or charging per pickup? And I think, Mr. Christian, you answered that one, did you not, with some of the shared services?
This is one of those times where I didn't listen to the the mayor. That's a pretty no-no, but I was taking a drink of water. Can you repeat that?
Major, whatever. Okay, whatever you choose.
I'm sorry, I was drinking and I wasn't paying attention.
Shared services, I think, is a question. If there's 2 or 3 people sharing one trash service, do all 3 get charged? Is there charging for one house? I think that was on the board going back to the 2 boards back. Keep going. Right there. I think resident account surcharge for shared service. 3 of them said there's no, and 2 of them said there were. So that kind of answers your question. If there's, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and on that particular program, one person needs to be the designated person to receive that bill. So if you're in a duplex, you're with your neighbor, I'm next to Marty, and I want to make sure, the bill gets paid, because Marty isn't going to pay the bill, whatever the case might be. I want to make sure I'll get that bill, and then I'll walk over to Marty and say, you owe me whatever that bill is and whatever else I can get from Marty. But the way that would work is that one person would be receiving of the bill, and they would be the responsible party to make sure that bill got paid.
And that's what's happening now anyway on shared services. One person's getting the bill and the other 2 are paying them, so it's really no different. And Jim's going to answer some of these because some of them are more technical in nature. How are you going to address the issues of people not paying their bill? Will it be like the water when they turn it off? What will happen to the trash, Jim?
Yeah. It would be the same process, same procedure. If you get a water bill right now, you'll be billed for the month that you just used your service, and you go through actually 60 days before you get to a point where you would lose your service for not paying your bill. Thankfully, it doesn't happen all that often that most people in the city pay their bills on time, but it does happen. We do have some, it's a shut-off day, it's called in the city, but you have to be pretty far in arrears before you get shut off. The same would apply for the trash service. We did have that written in the RFP that would follow the same process.
How will you handle poor service and rising prices? Will people with one bag of trash pay same as a family? As far as the rising prices, those are built in. As far as the RFP goes, you saw they bid that at 5-year increments. You saw the 5 years as they went along. As far as the pay is the same as one family, Jim, I think that was in the presentation as far as what they would do. For instance, Automated, I think, provides bag service, Allied, additional services. And I think that goes back to, let me make sure. Does that answer that question?
It didn't. If you decide, in Automated's case, you can opt to have that bag service. It's not going to change your monthly invoice. The monthly amount would still be the same, but that was actually an item that was brought up by the focus group because it's used in other areas of the city, or not the city, other areas of the country, about offering a bag service because for some that are lower producers, they would prefer to go that route. But to make it easy and convenient on the bidding process, we went with the poly cart, the wheeled cart for each resident.
What happens to my business hauler? How's Ash Grove dealing with this? Are the citizens happy? That's a good question.
Our survey did not go to Ash Grove, and I apologize.
Okay. Yes, sure. Go ahead. I can go over that, too. I was going to go over here in a minute, but I'll go over that here in just a minute. I want to get through the questions because that's going to lead into kind of what you guys have to say. Why do we need a change? If so many want status quo, why change? Why do we vote on it? Those are good questions. As far as the change, it's not necessarily a change. It's being good stewards of taxpayers' dollars again. And if we want status quo, why don't we vote on it? We're going to get to that as far as voting, and I might as well just cover that now. The cost of an election, to put this out, and we are representative democracy. That's kind of why we do this. It's why I said, you guys wouldn't want to vote on an ordinance every single time. But a cost for the November election for the City Republic, and this is, there's a man in the audience who verified this today. Actually, his number was higher than my number. Greene County will charge the City Republic in November $20,000 to have our stuff on the ballot. The other number that came back, if it's an extra deal, it'll be $40,000. That came from Greene County today. So that's what, if you really want to know why, that's why. We're representative democracy. That's how we do our business. That's how we vote on $750,000 in fire trucks, and that's how we vote on a $1,200 Republic sign. You guys elect these individuals to vote yes or no on the items, and that's how we operate. But as far as the election goes, because there are quite a few questions about the election, that's the cost of doing an election is roughly $20,000, and it'd be $40,000 for the November election. So kind of keep those numbers in mind as well. Let's see. What will administrative fee be used for, and why not let the bid for trash be by wards? Administrative fee will be used for roads. Pure and simple. We'll put that back in the general fund for the road department. Pure and simple. We're going to go over the math here in just a minute because there's a question here about the math. I'm going to go over that. Also, why not bid for each ward? I will say this basically is a collective bargaining tool for us as you. I will say this, there's a subdivision right across the street has 100 houses. They collectively did this particular process with their hauler by themselves 12 years ago when there wasn't 100 houses. There was only about 50 or 30. And they did that process. They locked in a price in 2000 when I moved in. 2000 paid $12.25. Today, we're still paying $12.25. No fuel surcharge, no rising cost, no this or that. But that's collectively. That's what that subdivision did collectively. The interesting thing about wards is that you would all have to work together within your block or your ward. And for us anyway, when somebody puts a subdivision together and does that, they can do that. That's basically what we're doing on a bigger scale. But we're going to get to some of the other information. Let's see. Contact information for further questions from the public. Council members are right here. Their names and numbers are on the website. Their names and numbers are on the website. They're also in the newspaper if you take the Monitor. If not, you're going to see who they are up here in Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3. If you have questions about who your ward is, call the city clerk at 732-3140. That's who you contact. Let's see. Have you taken into consideration that small trash companies could go out of business to do this? Isn't Republic pro-small business? Republic is pro-business in general. Yes, that consideration has been taken in. That consideration was taken in back in 2006. That consideration has been always taken in, that thing has always been taken into consideration. So as far as that goes, if you'll notice some of the bidding, some of the prices up here, some of the bigger companies, and even some of the smaller companies all are pretty close in their bid process. So as far as that goes, we are pro-business. The vision of the Republic's economic growth and economic development. And there's two ways you can grow economically. One, you can bring business to town. We can go that way. Or two, put more money back in your pockets. That's the other way. 360,000-ish number on flyers. Where does it come from and where is it going? Glad we brought that up. You guys want to know about numbers? I'm a number guy. You see that? Okay, numbers. Make sure I get it right, because I want to make sure I have everything. Should we do it right? That's it. Okay. Thank you. Out of one of the flyers that you received, it said 18 cents a day for your freedom or $360,000 to the City of Republic. Okay, well, let's just go back. Jim, will you go back to the bids real quick? The average, according to the bid, was the average that citizens pay in this room is $16 a month. Wait a minute. That is according to the flyer that you received. Okay? That came from a trash hauler, not from us. Okay? That came from a trash hauler. I'm just using their numbers, and I want to go through the math with you because what they used on their flyer was this. An average is $16 a month. I don't pay that. Some people don't pay that, but that's what they use. So I'm going to use it and kind of go through the math with you to help you understand exactly what these council members are going to be looking at. According to them, it's $16 a month. That's the average, which means that if you go the average and $8 is the low, that means $24 is the high, and there are people paying upwards of $20. So that's 8 to 24. That's roughly an average, according to their numbers. Now, 50, I'm going to use 5,000 residents. Right now we have 5,179. So I'm going to use 5,000 at the average. And remember, that's the average that they used. Your 16 times your $5,000 or 5,000 residents, that's $80,000 a month that the citizens of the Republic are paying in trash service. On average. That's maybe not what you're paying, but overall, the people are paying $20 and $24, and I know a few of them. That's what the City of Republic citizens are paying right now. Times 5 years, because that's what we've been using as a barometer. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a month. Sorry, my bad. I do have a calculator, and I will use it, trust me. It's a big calculator, too, I just want you to know. What's that? No, that's good right there. $80,000 a month times 12 months. $960,000. Everybody agree on that? Say aye. Okay, $960,000. That's per year, correct? Okay, that's per year. Multiply that by 5. think it's roughly, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 point what? 4.8? Okay, $4.8 million for 5 years. 5 years. That's the information that they used. Taking that is what the City of Republic is worth in dollars to the trash haulers if they had all the business. But that is at $16 a month, not the bid price. So, let's go back and look at where they got their numbers. The bid, and I'm going to use, if you take, you could take any of them, That's roughly the average. Yeah. 10.55 is the average. So I'm going to round and say 11. Makes it easy math. So we have $11 a month times our 5,000 customers. Roughly $55,000 a month. Anybody want to do the math for times 12? Or you want me to do it on my calculator? 660. Do everybody agree with that? I'll agree with that. $660,000. Okay. Times 5 is what? 3.3? $3.3 million a year. Now, that's an average. Let's just say that's an average of $11 a month. It's $3.3 million a year. That's what it's worth to the haulers, every one of them that bid this, even if the average was 11. Some of them are a little higher than 11, some of them are a little lower than 11. But I want you to remember, not one trash hauler has all the business in the Republic. But $3.3 million, that's what it's worth. Now, yes, it's not taxed. Hold on. The 10% that you saw ranging from 2%, 5%, 8%, and 10%. You saw that as 2 to 10. 2 to 10%. They took this number, a little slightly higher, times your 10%, and that's where they get the number. Now, you want to know where the 18 cents a day came from. 18 cents a day. 18 cents a day came from taking the difference, take 18 cents, multiply that by 30, what do you get? Because it's 30 days in a month. 540. Okay. What was the average that we had? They had the average at $16. That's what they used. Now you take that average, subtract off that 18 cents a day that they're saying that's what you'll have, and that's $10.60. Just about probably what the average is on some of these. So, this is the difference is where they get the 18 cents a day. I want to be clear on that because that was on your flyer that you received. It did not come from us, but I want to make sure you understand that. When you take that 1060 and you roll it back in, instead of 11, you put 1060 there, you come out, you'll get that 360 if they choose a 10%, if they choose the hauler that has 10%. But, as you've seen, that's not necessarily the lowest bid, but it is a bid. That's where those numbers came from. Now, I want to point out something else, too. I said it earlier. There's 2 ways you can grow economically. One, you can bring more business to town, which we are diligently doing. We're trying to do as much as we can. We've got things going on that they don't even tell me, which is good. We need to know when it happens, but there's lots of things that economic development is our vision. But 2 ways. One, you can bring businesses to town, or 2, you can put more money back in the pockets. Now, if the average is 16, using their numbers, because that's what they sent us, that's what they sent you, I got a copy of it too, using their numbers, the entire Republic pays 4.8 over 5 years. Using their numbers again, if the average, and that's a little high because we saw that their 18 cents a day actually comes out to $10.60 a month. But using raw numbers and easy numbers, $3.3 million over 5 years, that's $1.5 million over the houses of the Republic over 5 years that go back to your pockets. Because if you take the 18 cents a day and you multiply that 18 cents a day out, that's $5.30 a month times 12 months. Turns out to be $65.70. Is that right? Somebody do it on a calculator and tell me. That's $65.70 that you save based on what we have. Now, $64.80. Thank you, Councilmember. $64.80. with that, that's average because using their numbers again, I'm just using their numbers. I'm not using our numbers. I'm not using the haulers. I'm using their numbers that they sent you. So with that said, that's $64 a year savings that you have. Now, some of you are nodding your head saying, no, I won't save that. You're right, you won't, because you're paying less than that. But the guy who is paying $24 a month will save that plus whatever you're not saving. If you're paying $12.25 like I am, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm paying. If you're paying $12.25 like I am, and I go down to $10.60, I've saved what, $1.50 over a month, over 12 months. So I haven't saved much. But the person's paying 24 and 20 and 19 and all that stuff. Now, they're going to save more than that. But that's the average. Again, using their numbers, it's the average. Those are numbers that they were sent to you. I'm not playing with the numbers. I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm looking at from what they gave you. And I'm just doing the math. That's all I'm doing. So what they did was they put, and I don't blame them, they wanted the biggest number they could for us and the smallest number for them. And I understand that. I don't blame them a bit. But using their numbers, even if you use their numbers, there's still quite a bit of savings. So, you want to know where the money's at? There's the money right there. It's over 5 years, by the way. Over 5 years. It's $3.3 million business-wise. It's a $3.3 million business decision for them. Now you see why the people that sent you those cards bid on the job. They had to. It's $3.3 million. It's worth it. It is worth it. I mean, it really is. And I don't blame them. I'd have sent the cards too. I would have liked to get more information, but I'd sent the cards too, and I don't blame them for doing it. But that's the numbers. Those are raw numbers. That's their numbers, not mine. But with that answers the question about the numbers. You can cut it for however you want, but most part, you could take numbers and do that all day long. But that's what's in the flyers. And I'll get to those questions in a second. How much rebate is the city receiving in the winning bid? Depends on who it is. It depends on if it's 8% or 5% or 2%. That's up to council. And let's see. It's a good question. I don't know what it is. It's a good question. Mr. Christian,
once again, before you factor in, yes, there is an expense to the city. We would add it into our cost to bill, but remember what the mayor said earlier, the city would dedicate that money to go back to road maintenance. So, well, again, everyone needs to be respectful. Be respectful. Again, be respectful. Sir, be respectful. I'm asking. There is, when you pave a road, it comes out of each and every one of yours pocket. Every road that we pave comes out of every one of yours pocket, and because your taxes will pay for the road, nobody else will pay for the road except for the taxes. That's what you pay. As the mayor mentioned before, please. Okay. One thing that can happen in this meeting, I'm sorry to speak up, everybody needs to be respectful. The mayor mentioned that early on. Everybody needs to be respectful. Everybody has high emotions. That's understandable. Again, this is just a process that you follow. Here's the information. But road maintenance is an enormous expense for the city. That's where that money would go. There is also a cost to do the billing. Of course there is. We don't get our mail for free. However, it could be absorbed and allow for that money to go to another use, a better use. So hold your questions. Let the mayor finish up on his things, and you can have plenty of time, I'm sure.
Why isn't this available by people? I think we covered that. I think it was cost factor. If we don't use this trash service, does it go citywide? Well, it's one trash service, so I think that question is about the shared services. We've covered that. I'm a senior citizen, may not want the trash service. Okay, how do I get pickup? I think that's based in some of the proposals somebody came up with as the different ones. Will business required to use the one trash service? No, that was that was pointed out by Mr. Krischke. Will you have to take trash service if you don't use one now? And if your neighbors share one dumpster and save money, will that be allowed? That was covered as well under shared services. What is the purpose of the city involvement in trash? I'm not quite sure the rest of that question. For us anyway, it helps out on roads. Whose rate is 18 cents a day based on? Like I just covered that. I only have one small bag and can put it in a dumpster. How will this save me? I think we've covered that. That's under shared services as well. A lot of questions about shared services, really are. How many trucks does this group have? Usually they have 3 that messes up the roads more. I'm not quite sure which company that is, but companies have plenty of trucks. How will billing be passed on? That's Jim explained that through the water bill. You say we'll save money. How? That's a good question because that's held in our RFP because due to the fact that we put that out there for 5 years, made sure it was locked in for 5 years. Also, there won't be any, when the 5-year service, I did fail to mention, there won't be any fuel surcharge or anything like that on the bid from the city, if that was the case, if city code councils or council so choose to do so. Got that. Will the city be receiving funds as a result of contracting? That's been answered. Let's see. Vote from the people. We've covered that. What added cost is the city going to be added? I.e., water bill can't afford to send return envelope in a bill. I think there is a return envelope, isn't there? No. I'm not going to sit and tell anybody it's not the case, but we have in the past provided return envelopes. Just recently, we determined that very, very, very few people use those envelopes, and to try to reduce our costs of doing business, we did no longer put those return envelopes. We did make them available. We still have them. People just need to come in and ask for them, and we'll be happy to get them to them. If that doesn't work, of course, we will go back to providing envelopes. But when you look at the larger percentage that get thrown in the trash because they're not being used, we made that determination we would make them available, just not send them along with your monthly bill. Okay, thank you. What is the review process for keeping prices competitive? We've seen that is built into the bid, and then every 5 years we'll go out again. What controls does the city have put in place to keep costs from rising? That's also in the bid. What is the plan for money rebated to the city? That's on roads. How is this going to affect people in the outlying areas when trash service is no longer in town? For us anyway, it's a good question. It wasn't looked at for us anyway. We're looking at citizens inside the city. That's our main goal. That's what we have to take care of. That's who you have represented up here. Also, will the Wheeling Trash Company have recycling yard waste? I think that was covered also in the bids. And what is this saving to the homeowner, if any? As far as dollars and cents, it depends on if the lowest bid's taken. The lowest bid was 8 and some change, but that'll be up to council to decide what they want to choose, what they don't want to choose, or whether they even want to move forward with it. What benefit this is going to be to the individual citizen? I think I just answered that same question. How is a hauler selected? Who controls price increases and how? Satisfying service. Those are all questions we covered already. Because some of them have already been answered. I'm going to answer them as I go. That way you guys have plenty of time to tell us what you think, not necessarily answer the questions. Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to go over it. This is not a question. It's a statement. I'm going to hold that one. Let's see. What I don't want to happen is I get to a question and somebody says, you didn't ask my question. So I want to make sure I cover everybody. So I understand your point. Yes. Yes, ma'am. If you don't have trash service. Okay. There's probably a dozen questions left, but please do not come up to me and say I didn't read your question. Also, Jim, we'll go to pros and cons, and then we'll get to the last part. Cons, government involvement, unknown fluctuation of price to customer or consumer. Right now, some of you may have fuel surcharges. Some of you may have fluctuating prices. You may have resolution issues with some of your haulers, but you have the freedom to move off and on to haulers. Billing completed by city, impact to small business, and freedom of choice. Those are the cons, and I think the majority of you see freedom is your biggest issue. I understand that. Pros, again, I'm a neutral party, so please do not take shots at me, okay? Pros, street maintenance and deterioration of streets due to heavy traffic, neighborhood aesthetics, neighborhood safety, potential curbside recycling, established scheduled days for pickup, enhanced services, 5-year rate guarantee, and competitively bid every 5 years and one bill for city-provided utilities and trash service and reduce cost to you overall. Next slide, Jim. Last but not least, on your July 2012 water and sewer bill from the city, we saw that the return was pretty good for our citizen survey. We saw that the My Trash Boys had 270 some, and the cars that came back were 570 some. So, on your water bill, you will receive and see this right here. Would you support a single trash provider with a monthly fee less than $9, not to exceed 7 or 11 over 5 years? Yes or no? Send that back to City Hall. And I'll tell you this: it's unscientific, but it will give them an idea, and we can actually track by area what is for and what is against. Responses may be submitted with payment to water bill. If you have automatic deposits, we're going to allow those to be sent in. So that in itself will also give you a voice to send back as well. And that's really want to make sure we have all the information. Make sure council has all the information, because in my opinion, that's one of the best ideas. Okay, Jim, last slide, and then we're going to move that up here and we'll go. If you would, we're going to put the microphone up here. If you would, come to this side, and we're going to fill in the front row as you sit, one person, one speaker at a time. Also, step to the microphone, state your name and your address, if you would, for the record. We do that at council meetings, and we're asking you to do that here. 3 minutes per comment. That's the standard we use at city council meetings. We're asking you to do the same since it's a regular meeting. There will be a lot of comments. There's a lot of people here. We could be here another 2 hours if you all took 3 minutes. So, questions. If you have questions that were not asked here, please ask those questions. Again, one question, I should have covered everything. And please, lastly, but not least, it is a responsibility of everyone here to listen to all sides, be fair and respectful of everyone involved. That's all we ask. Be respectful of council members, be respectful of me. And Brenda's asking, as the city clerk says, Simon, council members, take your places if you would. They've just now seen the information for the first time as well. So please be respectful of them. And by the way, in this particular forum, this is your time to talk to council and your time to tell council what you think. Council will not be responding unless somebody attacks them personally, then I will take over. But please be respectful. This is their time to listen, and this is your time to talk. So if there's a question you have to ask and we need to answer it, let me know and we'll go from there. Mr. Collins, please be the first, sir.
Thank you very much, and having been the source of, this is not on.
It works better if you just grab it, Mayor.
Huh?
It works better if you just grab it, actually. Or that would work too.
Can you hear? No. 1, 2. All right. Having been the purveyor of a whole bunch of mad people before, I want to say that I don't think there's anything sinister going on, and there's no reason for us to be disrespectful. I have a strong opinion, and I want to express that, but I'm not mad at anybody. And my opinion is that this should not be done, and it should not be done for several reasons. And number one is, everybody seems to want to do more for me. And I like to make all my decisions that I can. The last thing I said when I was the mayor was, beware of government creep. Now, the paper presented it as beware of government creeps, but that's not what I said. I said government creep. I think that people want to help, maybe even want to save us some money, and maybe could save us some money, but I'm an adult in a private residence, and people seem to want to tell me how to run every little part of my life, and I'm big enough and old enough to understand good stewardship, and I know, and like all the people on the council, I do understand good stewardship, and I don't think you're trying to waste money. I think you're doing a good job. This is the first time since I've not been the mayor that I've been here, and whatever you do, I'm not going to be mad at you, but I'd like you to really just leave me alone. Just let me do my own stuff, because this could, and one thing that I don't think you thought about, the city almost doubled in the last 10 years. In the next 10 years, if it's 30,000, and then another 10 years if it's 60 or 70,000, and you don't have a trash hauler that can do that, you're going to have to be the trash hauler. You're going to have, it will be a city service, and it will not be a bid out, and when that happens, you've seen how that happens in some major cities that go that way, and there's strikes and everything else, and the quality of it goes down, and I think you need to get on the train and ride it all the way into the depot before you make a decision, and think farther than I'm going to live when the city is going to be a big city, and think that there's a lot of cities that, because they took on services they didn't have to, are at the point of, and some of them are already bankrupt. I love my city. I've been a friend of Brian. I'm going to be a friend of Brian after this is done, and the rest of you. But I just